host, Mimosa.
And co-host, Kareem.
Welcome to Sometimes We're Bougie and Sometimes We Hood, to healing, navigating grief. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance. Welcome in. Welcome to Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We're Hood, a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance. I'm your host, Auntie Mimosa.
Hey, it's his cousin Kareem. How y'all doing?
And whether you're in the depths of grief, slowly learning to live with loss, or supporting someone on their journey, this space is for you. Grief is deeply personal. There's no timeline, no rule book, and no right way or wrong way to navigate it. But through shared experiences, honest conversations, and moments of reflection, we can find comfort, understanding, and hope. Grief isn't just something we experience on anniversaries or at funerals. It walks with us in the grocery store, on our morning commute, when we fold laundry, when we hear a song we didn't expect. And today we're going to talk about how to live with grief in the ordinary moments of our lives, how it sneaks into the small spaces, and how we can gently make room for it without letting it take away our ability to live fully. So, let's take this hour to slow down together, to reflect, and maybe even to breathe a little easier, knowing we're not alone in this journey. Cousin Kareem, how you doing?
How you doing?
Oh,
Hey,
goodness. Talk
everything
about
is everything.
it. It is. Of course,
It's been one of those mornings.
Today this is my, birthday weekend. So, Leo season full in effect.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Birthday.
thank you. So
Happy
I'm sitting
belated to yesterday.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, you are glitching. You're glitching today.
Am I?
Yes, you are. But Auntie Mimosa's taking gifts all month long. So or the entire Leo season, I'm taking gifts the entire Leo season. So um, but when we talk about grief, right, most of us picture the heavy, obvious moments, right? The crying at funerals, sorting through belongings, maybe anniversaries, birthdays. But grief often lives in the small, everyday rhythms. Okay. And how prevalent this is because sometimes this is why I don't like social media, especially Facebook sometimes, because the memories that pop up. So, of course, while scrolling through all the birthday wishes on Facebook, a memory pops up. And the memory is when Deej escorted me to a casino royale event for my birthday one year. And I was like, oh man, you know, it it made me realize it
Take your
just
time. Take your time.
it made me realize how much I miss him. So it looks like, forgetting why you walked into a room because your mind is so foggy, it might look like, snapping at somebody that you love and care for, then realizing your irritability is really exhaustion from carrying loss, right?
Yeah.
Um, it looks like a smile that fades too quickly when a memory rushes back, like this one. So, and then for many of us, it looks like, pretending we're fine at work, at the grocery store, at school pickup, when we're inside, and it appears that everything is fine. Grief is just not. Sadness is fatigue, it's anxiety, it's numbness, even laughter that feels a little too sharp. It shows up in our bodies, in our relationships, and how we eat, sleep, and function, right? So, with that, of course, like we said, birthdays, anniversaries, the holidays, but in everyday living, in everyday life, it shows up. It shows up. Kareem, cousin Kareem, you want to share, um, any, or you have any thoughts toward how grief affects every day, your life every day with, you not having your mom and your grandma and things like that.
Yeah. Ironically, you know, you and Grandma Palmer's birthday, your birthday coincides with her passing, and it's the same with my my mother and my oldest daughter. It's the same way, and it's a momentary. It's not. No, that's not the word. It's a point in life where you want to forget, but then you don't forget because
Mhm.
us connecting is a joy for that day, the 16th. But then previously, it was grievous.
Mhm.
It was associated with grief. The same thing with, like I said, my daughter and my mom. And it's it's like you get up that day, like the
Mm.
current is the
Mhm.
good thing, but then the past is such remembrance of things not said, things unsaid.
Mhm. That unspoken, all of the unspoken that has taken place. Um, so I want you all to know that, if your grief feels invisible to others, but it weighs on you in daily life, you're not failing at all. You are grieving, and grief is work. It is hard work. Um, this birthday weekend for myself, like I said, it was a great one until I saw that memory. And it was, I wasn't expecting to see it, so to speak. But I took it as a sign of him saying hello, you know. I took
Whereas,
it as a sign. Yeah, I took it as a sign as you saying hello and happy birthday, mom. So, um, but yeah, what you saying, Kareem, yeah, and it's difficult when you have birthdays associated with transitions of individuals, close people that you love. That is difficult because you have the joy that you want to celebrate in the person that's living. However, at the same time, you're grieving the individual or memory comes up of that person that has transitioned. This is that sadness. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what I was saying. Like, I was pretty okay until I saw that photo and had to talk about it right now, a moment ago. I was
Yeah.
okay. Um, but like I said, it just triggers how much I miss my son. Hmm.
And that's never going to end. The missing part,
Right.
being who he was and was headed towards being, it's a mixed bag of emotions because it was never, yeah. I'm not
Hmm.
going to try to explain your feelings, but it's just a matter of, for me and my mom, it's just like she died
Hmm.
49 years old. Excuse me. She went on 49 years old.
Hmm.
It was the what could have been, you
Right.
know, the stories, time spent. I had mentioned it on a previous podcast. For me, when I look back on it after this interview, it's just like I never realized how selfish I was. And I'm not saying it's for you. I'm just saying it for me,
Hmm.
because I was distraught that I'm never gonna have those times of when your parents make fun of you. You don't know what your dad was like when this and this and this and that. And I always thought that was funny when I hear the people talk about their kids in front of their grandkids. And I think that's why you know, I used to hear my mom tell people, so that you met your grandkids.
Hmm.
And now, in light of everything, I see why that's considered to be so. It's just, you don't know when you're going to go on. But to see the next level, the next generation, it's a it's a startling event in a good
Right.
sense.
Right.
Yeah,
So
hard
we're
to separate two.
right. Right. So we're gonna move on to like the little things that trigger grief in our lives, right? So as I stated before, like grief is often hidden in the small details, right? A coffee mug that's in the cupboard that belonged to that loved one, the smell of your loved one's favorite soap, a song played in the store on the radio. Like I said, sometimes it's not the anniversary that hits us the hardest. It's that Tuesday or Wednesday morning, the routine grocery trip, the way the sun comes up through the window, it's and suddenly you just lose it. You're undone, right? Um, and here's the tricky part, right? You can't plan for those moments.
No, you can't.
You cannot plan for those moments. It might be you sitting down to pay a bill. It might even be you laying out your clothes for work the next day. And those moments, they just ambush us, right? Like me with a moment ago, right? It just ambushed with that feeling, and that memory, and you know, which can feel unfair because it catches us off guard, right?
Yeah,
But it is the proof, like it's the proof of love. It is the proof that we love them dearly. We still love them. We will continue to love them. And it's like these reminders that mean that the love imprinted itself is it's not ordinary. It's not even, I want to say it's ordinary, but it's the unordinary. It's the unconditional.
yeah. It's
It's
that
the
connection.
right, right.
It's a tug of that string of connection that you have with that person. It's it's funny because Never mind. I don't want to talk about that. But you, no, I was talking about, like, growing up in New York. People, they passed on through violence and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
when it's an associate, it's just like, oh yeah. Versus when it's a family member or a friend, you know, the
Mhm.
tug's different. You know, like the string is so connected. So like it's almost a web. So when you yank at one, it activates all the other, you
Right.
know, things that ways y'all are connected. And now here
Mhm.
you are dealing with that pull. So you pull on one, and now you're pulling on the other one, and it just brings everything right back. And depending
Right.
on how hard the pull is of that one string, you might be dealing with those previous events
Mhm.
for a couple of minutes where you have to take a break and you don't know where you're at. You could be at work driving, but you got to pull over because the overwhelming effect of that tug of that string has
Mm.
now not just that, like I said, one string being pulled, but the web of strings that are attached to that one string,
Mhm.
bringing back and fitting in with all of those emotional, relevant, realistic emotions from that string, that connection, are being tugged and pulled on. And
Mhm.
now you are just dealing with that, trying to settle down that vibration of the pull of that one string that's electrified these other strings. And yeah, you just have to settle down and be like, wait a minute, you
Mhm.
know, like, I'm still here. I'm
Right.
still here.
Right.
Let
Right.
me
Because you
try
can.
to focus on the good ones and try to, you don't want to forget them. That's the crazy part about it. It's so emotional. It's so
Mhm.
drawing on the heartstrings that you're like, I just want to stop right now, just for a moment, slow down. Then you're like, but then you realize maybe, I don't know, you haven't thought about it for a while, you know.
Right. 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 And it's and right. And Maria, Miss Maria on Facebook, she was like, yes, yeah, beautiful memories and the reminders of imprinted love. That is correct. It's so true. And thank you for watching, Maria, via Facebook, and whoever else is watching today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Um, but it is definitely, the triggers are there. Um, and it's just a matter of knowing how to deal with them. So it's just like one way to navigate the triggers is to like pause and acknowledge them instead of running away. Well, unfortunately, I had to pause. I mean, I had to, like, hold, just like really push my trigger aside, because if not, I would be crying through this entire podcast, which I'm not going to do today. Um, so, like, if you see your loved one's handwriting on a note, on an old note, or maybe say out loud, like, I see you, I miss you, thank you for remembering me, you're still here in some way, like naming it rather than suppressing it. It
Yeah,
does take away some of the sting. Um, it does. It does. And I have a host of reminders here in my home of, about Deej. I have a host of reminders. Like, I have the memorial t-shirt, I have that framed. Um, I have his guitar. I have his lighter. I have his urn with his ashes in it, and that stuff sits out. It sits, and I look at it daily. Um, I have some of his clothing still. I have a leather jacket of his. I have, some of his belongings still. Some of his jewelry. Like, I still have some of my mom's jewelry. I have some of my mother's, coats and jackets. The same with my grandmother. I have some of my grandmother's jewelry. I have, a blouse or two that belong to my grandmother. So There are things that I have in my home that remind me of my mom, my grandmother, and my son. And there are times when, when I look at them or I see them, and it does trigger when I just be like, oh man, I miss you. I miss you a whole lot. Um, but let's talk about coping mechanisms, and that's something that people don't often know about, or they may hear about a coping mechanism or coping mechanisms and they don't actually know like what they are. So, how do we keep going when grief feels overwhelming in daily life, right? And so here's a few practices that you might be able to when it comes to coping mechanisms. So one are rituals. And of course, ritual, if you don't know what a ritual is something you do in remembrance of, right? It's sacred to you and the reason why you perform a ritual. So, for example, lighting a candle every morning or every evening and giving yourself 60 seconds to honor your grief, that is a ritual. If you pour out uh, a libation to a loved one or one of the homeboys, homegirls, whoever, that is a ritual. Um, those things are rituals, right? Um, Taking a moment to walk, stretch, or dance. Grief lives in the body, and moving helps release it.
Yeah.
Now, that is absolutely the truth. Okay. That is absolutely the truth. And it lives in the hips, believe it or not. It is in the hips and it is in the shoulders. People don't think, oh, I'm tense. If you tense up here around the neck area and the shoulders, that's where grief is at. It's also in the hips. And like my hips are so tight. I stretch I stretch and like I cannot I don't have the ability to perform a full like squat, so to speak, and balance. So I have a meditation seat or meditation chair, and it's on the ground. It's about a foot in height that I use, and I put my feet on either side of it, and just like push my elbows on the inside of my knees to stretch out my hips, and it is painful. Um, and I know that's where my grief sits. It is in my hips. And I don't know. Maybe I need a deep tissue massage. Maybe I need to be stretched. I don't know. Maybe I need to do a holistic uh what I don't know. I can't even think of what you call it when like go on a holistic retreat. Maybe something like really, I don't want to say my brain. I don't want to say severe, but maybe something that's really oh geez, Kareem, help me out. To help me release. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Just to like really help me release the grief that I'm feeling. And then a part of me is like I don't want to do it because I feel like me I might forget.
You're never gonna forget. You never forget. I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that. I know somebody who, this is gonna sound crazy, but when they were younger, they were mad, so mad, and they didn't understand the power of words, and they wished this person to go on.
Mm,
And the next morning, their alarm didn't go off. They went to their mother's room, and they were telling me that, that they were cold. And the words flooded back to them immediately of what they wished.
Mm.
And, to this day, this person, randomly when I talk to them, I ask them, so any, not the word luck, but any, progress towards remembering your time with them. And they're still like, no, I don't remember anything. And I'm like, well, I remember when you all went. They're like, I don't remember that. And it's like, how do I have more memories than you do?
Mm.
This was your experience, you know?
Mhm.
And it's you're not gonna by having these tug at your heartstrings of your connection, that's making sure you don't connect. For that person, they let go. They drop
Mhm.
their own strings because they refuse to, because of, I believe, because of the wish that they had made. And that's another subject, you
Mm.
know, out of regrets
Mhm.
sometimes will put you in a space where you don't feel like I want to
Right.
remember. In your case, I don't think you'll ever forget. I mean, there might be some small regrets of, not the fulfillments, but it's not a regret of harm
Right.
that you might have, that you think you might have caused,
Mhm.
you know, because I know being a mother's a hard thing to with young men.
Right.
You know?
I
So
know my grief is different. When I say it's different, I definitely loved my mother, loved my grandmother, loved my son. I would do anything for any of them. They said me to go get the moon. I was going to get it. You know, or they was like, Mama, go get the moon. I'm going to go get the moon for them. Um, but yeah, um,
you're gonna
uh,
have a time. You're gonna keep on moving. And you're gonna keep on going, and
mhm,
it's always gonna. At some point, the hope is that it will just be thoughts of joy, just to
right,
remember
right,
and remember the time you spent with them.
mhm,
Versus the grieving part. Hopefully, we just don't know when it's going to be, but hopefully, sometime it will be a point of joy that we had the time to spend with them.
right,
And we're not going back and forth trying to figure out what I could have, should have, did to maybe if I would have did this or did that. But
mhm.
yeah,
So, journaling is another coping mechanism. So, jotting down 3 sentences today. Today, my grief feels like. Now, I'm a writer. I write in my spare time. I have a journal that was given to me to write in when my son transitioned, when he, had his accident. Um, and I tried, and I'm being very transparent, with our listeners, and watchers, because to me, for some that might be easy, for others journaling might be difficult. Um, for myself, it's difficult. And DJ's been gone since 2021, and I have yet to like really write down my feelings or jot down my feelings. I think when his transition took place, I stopped journaling altogether. I used to journal prior to. I mean, I was an avid journalist. I can't tell you how many journals I have that I've completed. Um, but since 2021, I haven't written in a journal since. I have not. And it's so funny, right? So I actually won a journal. Let me see.
yeah, there it is.
Okay. I actually won a journal, while I was at my workshop. And this is Mind Garden series, book 3, Shadow Work. Um, and it's called Jump Journal Present. This is who did this. Um, by Pearls Girls Publishing. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try it. Um, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna get back to it. I'm not making any promises. I said I would try it, y'all. That's all I can do. Do you journal, cousin Kareem?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Um, I journal my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot. Um, More so my dreams or passions. Try
Mm-hmm.
to keep me on a guide to-do list. But as far as emotional, yeah, be honest with you, I've actually never did that. I
Mm-hmm.
never did that. It's like because it plays so vividly in my mind, you know. Like when my friend passed away, it was just so sudden, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy because it happened after another friend passed away, and I was calling this friend to talk about the first friend who passed away, and then his wife was like, "Oh, I didn't want to call you because we never talked before,
Mm-hmm.
but he passed away like 3 days ago." And I was at work, and I thought I was having a heart attack. You know what I mean? It was just like, because the first thing that was in my mind was I wanted to call. You know, when you're doing stuff and you like, something, you know, your spirit reminds you, say, hey, just do it now. And you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
got time. And then now it was one of those playback moments where like, I told you to call.
Right.
You know, and it's just
Right. You didn't listen.
then, you know, and it's like, oh my goodness, like
Mm-hmm.
being obedient sometimes, you know. My mom's gone, but like it's still like the obedience things. I can hear her voice, and
Mm-hmm.
it's that whole thing, the way it played out was crazy. Even when I went to New York and I met his wife, it was just like it was
Mm-hmm.
surreal because when they got married,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a recovery state, but he shared me in the wedding,
Mm-hmm.
quarter way around the world. So it
Right.
was like I was there, and then here now I'm finally meeting this woman who he had waited on for all these years, that
Mm-hmm.
he was like truly in love with, and it's for a different reason.
Right.
And that's hard. So I try to journal. I try to journal, and it
Mm-hmm.
just never. I wound up realizing I was just sitting there with
Right.
the pen in my hand, like
Right.
replaying the thoughts that I wanted to write down in my head instead of writing them down. And I just like put the book away. I was just like try to do something else because it just wasn't coming out. It's like it was stuck in my head, but my hand wasn't moving.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know what that is. Have you
And I
experienced something like that?
actually, yes, that's why I don't write. That's exactly why I don't write. And I have, hang on, and I have the most beautiful journal. Um, I have the most beautiful journal, right? This is what I'm supposed to be writing in. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
And I can't seem to put anything on these pages. I can't put anything on these pages. Nothing.
Mm.
I actually bought this journal with me to Hawaii
Oh,
to write when we came, when I came to see you in Hawaii.
yeah.
And I figured, sitting at the beach or, would help me release some thoughts. That didn't work. you know, I thought that didn't work. So, but yes, that's why I have not written about Darius. And that's what happens. I open the journal, pen in hand, to write down memories, to write down feelings, and I just sit staring at a blank page. And then I get frustrated and I might throw the pen across the room, slam the book closed, and throw, you know. But that's very real. That's very real. So let's talk about anchoring or anchors. So an anchor is, keeping one small item that connects you to your loved one, like a photo, a piece of jewelry, a note, and carrying it when you feel shaky or when you feel uneasy. Well, not only do I carry Deej, like I carry Deej with me everywhere because I have a necklace. I don't have it on because I have to get another chain. But he's in my wallet. And it's a dragon pendant
Mm.
that has his ashes in it. It's a pendant urn. And I put some of his ashes in that dragon pendant. So he's always with me. I wear him with me everywhere. Um, some people might have like a pendant from their mother or grandmother or sister that they may wear, a ribbon. Um, they may keep a photo with them. I used to keep a photo of my aunt Aura with me, in my wallet. Um, but yeah, for the most part, like Deej and Mark, I used to keep my obituaries, my mother's obituary, Darius's obituary, and my grandmother's obituary. I used to keep them in my pocketbook
Mm.
and keep them with me everywhere. Take them with me everywhere I went. And I recently stopped, and only because I carry so much stuff for work now, um, that, and when I said, I carry a lot to work. I take a lot of work stuff with me, like my laptop. I have a full-fledged appointment calendar book that I keep with me because I have to write down my clients' appointments and things like that. I do both electronically and I keep it written down. Um, I carry documents that if I need them to sign, some carry multiple folders with me. So my work bag was full. I have a pouch with all my electronic stuff in it, with all my cords from my phone, cell phone, all the different cords. Somebody need a charging, I got it. If somebody needs extra block, I have it. Computer, laptop cord. Yeah, I do. I carry a lot of stuff with me. Always, I'm just like always. They call me like, I'm the mother at work. If somebody you don't have it, go ask Auntie, Auntie Mimosa, she got it, and sure enough, I'll have it. I don't. I know, y'all. I know. But yeah,
Got that
anchoring.
grandma bag.
Yeah, I call it the Barney bag because I have everything in there. Um, but yeah, and then grace. Allow yourself permission to cancel plans, nap, or cry when needed. Grief doesn't run on a schedule, and that is the truth. Unless you're doing a podcast, then you can't sit here for.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
mm, I was trying to escape that. It's trying me. Believe me when I tell you, these tears are trying me, y'all. They want to, but I'm not going to. Once I hit in, I will cry at that point. I'm not going to cry right now. I refuse. Um, but none of these erase grief, but they remind us that we are human and humans need ways to carry weight without breaking. I'm going to say that again.
Jeez.
Rituals, movement, journaling, anchors, and grace. None of these erase grief,
Yeah.
but they remind us that we are human and humans need ways to carry weight without breaking, right? Right.
Right. It's a hard thing.
It is. It is. Most people think we just, we navigate a lot on a daily basis, right? We navigate a lot being human beings, and it's complex. We have to navigate work, possibly parenting, and a social life, right?
Being a spouse, that's a whole nother navigation.
And right, and being a spouse, right? And grief doesn't care if you have a meeting at 9. Grief doesn't care if you have children to feed, bills to pay. It walks with us into all of it. Grief doesn't care if you had an argument with your wife or a husband or significant other, whoever, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It doesn't care. It doesn't care that you don't feel good. Grief doesn't care that you might be happy. It just doesn't. It doesn't care that you have to move or pack up a house or um, buy a new car. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're filling out job applications and looking for a new job. Grief doesn't care. It doesn't care about that at all. Um, it doesn't care that your money's not right, your money's funny, right? It doesn't care about that. It doesn't care that your bank account may be in the negative. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you have $1 million or if your net worth is 5.5 trillion. It does not care at all. Grief does not care if you are the CEO of it doesn't care if you're the COO. It doesn't care if you're the vice president. It doesn't care if you're the owner. It doesn't care if you're the garbage man, the nurse, the doctor, the lawyer, the case manager, engineer, whatever. Grief doesn't care. It walks with us into every aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
At work, grief can look like can't focus, loss of concentration, you're struggling with deadlines, crying in the bathroom between meetings, going in the stall, closing, just bawling, going in the stairwell, just bawling. Um, One strategy is to communicate clearly, like with a trusted colleague or a manager, like, I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm grieving. Some days are harder than others. But keep in mind, you don't owe anyone any details. You don't owe anyone any details. You don't owe them all the details. But setting expectation can definitely lighten the load because you may be surprised how sympathetic or empathetic that particular manager or colleague may be towards you, right? Um, Funny story. Just talking about grief at work, right? So Deej is gone. My grandmother's still living at the time, but she's getting closer to her transition, and we know this. The family knows this. The doctor's office that I worked for was under construction. Okay. They were redesigning the doctor's office, so we had to use the smaller side of the office for patients to come in and out. And I'm a receptionist. Answered the phone. And it's the doctors that I worked for, not only did they have a private practice, but they also worked in the hospital that was right next on the same campus. It was actually one, two, three hospitals: Pill Hill, Northside, Choa, Emory, and then the offices, all the doctors' offices, right? So the doctors that I worked for would go across to Emory and to Northside to see patients. And a patient called for one of the doctors in our office, and the family member called, and I explained to the I think it was the daughter first. I explained to the daughter that this particular doctor, and I had worked for four of them. It was two females and two males. So this particular female doctor was not in the office, and because she was doing her rounds over at the hospital, and the daughter called like maybe two or three times, and I had to explain to her that the doctor was not in the office, that the doctor was doing rounds, that I would put in a message to page the doctor to contact the family member of this particular patient. She wasn't satisfied. And I'm doing my best to keep it together. Because like I said, my grandmother's on her way out. Deeds is already gone. And like I said, they went within 4 months of each other, right? The brother of the brother of this family calls, asked for the same doctor. I told him the same thing that I told his sister. He proceeded to yell at me over the phone. Y'all don't know what you doing. I need to talk to the doctor right now. I mean, he's just going in on me. Thank Thankfully, I had a wireless headset so I could move around the office and answer the phone at the same time. I jumped up from my desk because this is the anger coming out at work. Like I said, don't care because I was angry. Grief doesn't care that you're working and that you're being stressed by people, right? I jumped up from that desk. I ran into one of the doctor's offices that was empty. I closed the door and went off on that man. Okay, I went off. I lost it. I literally lost it because, like I said, I was trying to hold it together. I was trying to hold it together, and I didn't. And he's pushing the subject about his mother was supposed to be in, going to transition. And I told that man, I said, let me tell you something. I said, I don't know who you talking to. I said, but you need to understand. I think I was like, I don't know who you're talking to. I said, but I just lost my son. I said, and my grandmother is on her way out and taking her last breath. I said, so the last thing you're gonna do, or that I'm gonna allow you to do, is talk to me any damn kind of way. I said, now I done told your sister, and I'm telling you again, I will page the doctor and let her know that you called. I said, she is doing rounds. There's other patients in the hospital that need her other than you. Honey, that man got so silent on the phone.
Yeah,
He
they
said
don't realize.
he caught me wrong. And another doctor, the manager heard me because her office was next to the office where I was in. And she heard me through the walls. And she came flying in and she was like, give me that headset. And she took the headset from me. And she was like, hello, hello. She was trying to talk to the family member and he had hung up. And then he saw the doctor in the hospital and was like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I will never call your office like that again. But I mean, that's how the anger hit me while I was
Yeah,
working. It didn't take much. And that's why I always say be kind, always be kind. I comprehend that we have frustrating moments. I get it. I get it. I get it. I comprehend that we may leave home angry and upset, or we leave work frustrated and angry because of the day or whatever that we have. But just be kind. Just take a moment to breathe and be kind if you can step back. And because believe me, that conversation could have went a different way had he spoke to me a different way. And I did the niceties. I did my best to be kind and nice and okay. And I understand. I did all that. But then I had to roar. You know what I'm saying? I just had to let them have it. And sometimes you do have to do that to people, and they'll come to their senses. Um, but again, when you're at work, grief can look like losing concentration. It can, you're struggling with deadlines, um, running to the bathroom to cry, going into an office to cry, in the stairwell to cry, wherever you can get away from somebody. That's what that looks like. For parenting, grief is triply, triple complicated, not doubly complicated. It's triple complicated because you're carrying the loss of someone, something, a situation, and you still need to be a parent and present for your children. And it helps to name the grief out loud. And depending on what age your child is or children are, they understand. And all children understand. They really do. They all understand when you explain it to them. Um, you can tell them, mom and dad's heart feels heavy or sad today because, I'm missing grandma, or it's just the situation at work where I may have to look for a new job, or I'm missing pop, or I'm missing, whoever the individual is, or whatever the situation is that's causing you to grieve. You just, let that child know. And it teaches them that grief is normal and that it's not something to hide, you know. Um, Talk about it. Kids get it. We and I don't understand like what happens to us as adults that we tend to forget that children understand a whole lot more than we think they do. Like we were kids once, we understood a whole lot more than our parents told us. We got it. We understood. They may not have told us what it is, but we got it. We understood.
I think it's to the point of they don't, as parents, you don't want to put them in that state yet of the grieving that you're going through. It's like there is a, like bringing children to funerals, or what do you call it before the funeral, the wake.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't believe it. I don't believe that that's a children's space to be in because of spiritual implications. But um just like I don't believe, for me, coming from the artistic mindset, my kids are artists. I don't believe in burials because when I went to my grandma's and my mother's,
Mm-hmm.
especially my mother's, that's the first thing I see was
Mm-hmm.
her in that slab of metal when I had to go identify the body. Every time I think about her when she went on, that's the first image I see. And then it flashes back to images of us together, her smiling, laughing, whatever like that. But that last image of her is the first image I see.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in that way, some people try to spare the child from that adult like mannerism because they don't understand how to deal with it either. That's the biggest part. Take away from that, I think, is that as adults, some adults, majority of adults,
Mm-hmm.
this is the reason it was importance of this podcast is they don't even know how to acknowledge grief in their life. So how to
Right.
explain that to a child if you can, as an adult, haven't been able to surpass that explanation in your adulthood. But you know what? There's something I wanted to ask you is, do you think that sometimes these, how do you want to say, these random tugs at your heartstring of these
Mm-hmm.
memories when they flood into you, do you think sometimes it's a warning, or do they come at a point in your life where you need to stop, slow down, when you might be having to make a decision, but out of being anxious, maybe you're about to rush into a decision, and then these moments come, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, let me take a break, let me step back, because the memories come flooding back, and then you realize, man, if that memory didn't come back, I would have just ran into a bad decision. You see what I mean? It's like the grief brings about a moment of clarity
Mm-hmm.
in your life right now.
Um. mhm. I don't know, and the reason I say I don't know, I want to say I think it's when I have the moments. It's it might be them telling it might be Deej because it's more so with Deej than anything else telling me to rest. Um, or just I take it as a sign of him saying hi. Like I said earlier, with the memory popping up of him escorting me to the Casino Royale on my birthday several years back in 20 what we at we were in 2025. Was it 2016 to 2017?
Mm.
um yeah, 2017. um I just saw it as a means. I just saw it as his way of telling me happy birthday. You know, um, that's just how I saw it. A lot of times, sometimes it's when I get the moments when grief really shows up, and is when I'm tired, like really, really, really tired. Like when I've done a lot, like these past 4 days I have done a lot. Or this past couple of weeks, I have done a lot. Not just the past 4 days. Past couple of weeks, I have done a lot, a lot, a lot. And where I was just consistently on the go, um, and I really haven't rested. Like every day I'm on the move, on the move, on the move. And just to like really be honest to our listeners today, like what did I say to you when on the phone? I was like,
Yeah.
man,
Wish we had a recording.
wish we had a recording because I declare I don't want to do this today. Sure did. But we didn't have a show pre-recorded. I didn't think about it. We just didn't plan it. So here we are. So I think sometimes, like I said, today, for that memory to pop up today, it was Deej's way of telling me happy birthday. Because he knew, like yesterday I wouldn't have been able to handle that. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Um, and it was when I came home from my outing earlier. So, he showed up when he was supposed to. That's how I see it. He shows up when he's supposed to with me. Um, but yeah. Yeah. Any final thoughts? I think we'll pick up next week on this, so we still have a couple of we still have some more segments to go through about this topic about navigating through grief through daily lives. But any final words before we close out? No, yes, no.
Yeah, just sometimes people reach in from the other side just to help us out where we don't even really think about it. We think of it as just like, ooh, let me just feel these memories. But really, for me, it feels like as if I don't believe in coincidence. It just feels like they're reaching out for a reason to get them to remember something or to do something. So,
Mm.
but I don't take things as coincidence. They love us as much as we love them.
Right.
Sometimes we're too busy to recognize a signal,
Mm-hmm.
sign. Sometimes that's the easiest way to get to us is by connecting with us,
Right.
reaching out to us. So we can say, hey, whoa, 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 it's not bad. Oh, wait, am I doing this right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, get back on track.
Right.
But that's just my thoughts.
Yes, yes, yes. Alrighty. So of course, God, SBSH family. Sometimes we bougie, sometimes we hood. Thank you for tuning in today. We definitely love you.
Yes.
Had a great birthday weekend. I enjoyed myself. I'm gonna continue to enjoy myself. I'm gonna rest. Treated myself to the movies yesterday to go see Superman. Um,
Hey.
I loved it. It was a good movie. So, but
Yeah.
to close, as we close today, I want to leave you with this thought. Grief is not an interruption to life. It is life. I'm gonna say that again. Again, grief is not an interruption to life. It is life. It's part of the story of love. If you're grieving, you're not broken. You're carrying something sacred. This week, I invite you to notice one small way grief shows up in your everyday life. And instead of pushing it away, try to welcome it in. Try to allow it to be present. Be present with it. Be receptive to it. Breathe through it, speak to it, and let it remind you of the love that remains. Thank you for spending time this hour with your host, Auntie Mimosa, and
Cousin Kareem. Hey.
on Sometimes We Bougie, Sometimes We Hood. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with a friend who might need it. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. As you move through your own process, remember to be patient with yourself. There's no timeline. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. There is no rule book. And we say this at every close and every opening. There's no timeline. There's no right or wrong way. And there is no rule book to grieving. Honor your feelings, embrace the memories, and allow yourself space to heal in your own time. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to reach out, share your story, and let us know how grief has shaped your journey. And if you know someone who might need this conversation, please share this episode with them. You can reach out to us on Instagram at SBSH Grief Podcast. So S is in sometimes, B is in bougie, S is in sometimes, H is in hood. Grief Podcast on Instagram. Or you can go into my personal Instagram, Queen of Life Empowerment, and leave me a message there. On Facebook, sometimes we're bougie, sometimes we're hood. You can leave us a message there, myself or Cousin Kareem, a message there. On TikTok, sometimes bougie, sometimes hood. You can leave a message there, or you can email us, and it's sometimes we're bougie, sometimes we're hood at gmail.com. Until next time, be kind to yourself, hold space for your emotions, and remember, you are never, ever alone in this journey. Take gentle care of yourself. We carry the most love, the most beautiful, beautiful love there is. And you don't have to walk this road alone in silence. Your love and your light still matters. So take gentle care of yourself. And with that, we say, have a good night.
Enjoy.
It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance.